What's going on, Spittin Chiclets fans? Biz here, and thanks for tuning in to another interview as part of the ECHL Player Relief Fund interview series. And this one is brought to you by our good friends at Budweiser Canada. That's right, Budweiser Canada knows we're all part of one team fighting the same opponent right now. And they have stepped up to donate $10,000 to the ECHL Player Relief Fund. So keep drinking Budweiser responsibly and supporting restaurants, bars, and liquor stores who carry out through takeout and delivery options. We know times are not easy right now, so we're trying to give you guys as much content as we can. So we hope you enjoy this interview. Please, stay safe, and once again, thank you to Budweiser Canada.
Holy shit, guys. Holy shit, Chiclets listeners. You know that I get going for some big-time interviews with some big-time intros, and right here is a guy whose resume makes the intro very, very easy. We got a two-time Norris Trophy winner, a two-time gold medal winner, a three-time Stanley Cup champion, and a nice little Conn Smythe trophy as playoff MVP to wrap it up. A guy that I was drafted with the same year. He was 49 picks after me, not a big deal. Hall of Famer someday and legendary defenseman Duncan. Keith, thanks for joining the podcast, buddy.
Oh, that's a hell of an introduction. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a hell of You've done all that.
Yeah.
How fucking wild is this?
It is. It's been a fun ride. It's been good. We've been lucky to be a part of a lot of good teams here in Chicago and a lot of great teammates, as you guys have seen. And a great city. So it's been a lot of fun. Been good.
I gotta hear about it, and we gotta get it right out of the way because we talked about it a little bit.
Let me bring it up. So this is you don't know this is coming. So Duncan and I first played, well, we probably played against each other growing up at some point, but I don't remember. You were at Michigan State quick. I was at BU. We were both freshmen together, did not play against each other. I then turned pro, and my first pro year is the lockout year. Now, I'm in Wilkes-Barre. This guy's in Norfolk playing for the Chicago Blackhawks farm team. I end up fighting Anton Babchuk one game, who hit my defensive partner, Chris Keller, from behind. I think I kind of beat him up, actually. Thank you very much. All of a sudden, the rest of the game, and every time I ever play against this guy, the rest of the season, he's like, Whitney, you fucking pussy. You like fighting. You remember this? You like fighting a Russian, you pussy. Oh, you just gave it to me. I remember saying, why does this guy hate me so much? Jesus Christ. You remember this?
I don't know.
That's so back in the rearview mirror.
He's like, buddy, you think I remember the AHL? I've played 17 years in the show.
I don't know. I think when I was a young guy there, I was trying to, do something to.
You got your nose in there.
To get in there a little bit. But maybe there was a little bit of jealousy there. I don't know.
Oh.
Because of the draft.
The draft situation. Yeah, a bit of chip on my shoulder.
I respect
the
hell.
You know what? But I will say, I do remember going down. I flew down to Michigan State. And you guys actually, on my fly down, you were playing in the game.
Okay, it's USA.
And you guys won that game. And I remember thinking, because it was the draft year.
It was
the next year.
It was the next
but
year.
There was still talk about high picks.
It would have been my draft year had I not gone to college. Remember by going to college, it set it back a year.
Yeah, and I remember watching the game, and I remember they said that this Ryan Whitney on defense is supposed to be a high pick, and I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, this guy's pretty good. I watched the game, so
fucking A.
So,
it's an all-star.
He's just hard as a rock right now. Catch that on camera.
Smooth, calm, and poised with the puck.
Thank you, buddy. No, well, so it's funny. So thinking back to you as a player, and you bring it up correctly. Like, players know other players. You know who? All right, this guy's my age, my draft, offensive defenseman, and right away I saw you like this kid, like the way you skate is so different from other people. You almost hop around out there, and you've always been this just dynamic skater. Like, that's always been your number one strength, right?
Yeah, I just knew I was always a small kid, right? Yeah. So I felt like I had to be quick, and I remember, it's funny you say the hop because my dad actually, when he was telling me to skate, he'd always say, get a hop going. So I just do it naturally now. But if I didn't do the hop when we were on the outdoor rinks, he would always, come and point it out and tell me, you got to make sure you're getting the hop going. I don't know what the hop's for, but like,
well, no, right. But it's just to get you in the play, get involved. Like,
but I take my son now to a skating coach, Boris Dorozenko, and I think he's really good. And I see some of the stuff that he's got them doing out there, and he's getting my son to do, jump a little bit out there, and it's that old Russian kind of Ukrainian
Your dad was
school
ahead of
of
the game.
thought. I think he was a little bit in some ways.
So I have so many questions getting into the career, but going back quickly, and you're talking about the visit at Michigan State. So for people who don't know, this guy, big recruit, goes to Michigan State, plays his freshman year. Halfway through sophomore year, you end up leaving. You go to Kelowna in the WHL, which wasn't that common then. And that was after you'd been drafted. Was that like talking to the Blackhawks, that's what they wanted? Had you had enough? What was the deal with leaving school?
Yeah, that was a tough decision because, obviously you're with your teammates in a mid-season. And I got really close with some of those guys. And you're leaving the team voluntarily, It's not like you're getting traded and you have to leave. So
yeah, you're deciding to do it.
But there was a lot of things that went into it, and for myself, you're on a full-ride scholarship, but we still had to pay to get there, and you get that check for $2,200, and that's supposed to last you for 4 months. And my parents had, I have an older brother, a younger sister. They were in school too, so the money was kind of playing a factor there. And,
really?
And then I was able the opportunity to go to Kelowna, play at home, which was 45 minutes away. Where they wouldn't be paying, money that they didn't have, racking up credit card bills, and then the opportunity to sign, which I did end up signing, less than a year later with Chicago.
And then that was just the only year in the dub. The next year into the AHL, right?
Yeah.
And that was the year before lockout year. So that was your NHL season, your first year pro.
Yeah.
But you didn't get called up. That was more you took a full 2 seasons.
I wasn't really ready at all, really. I mean, it was good that I left and left college and kind of was able to make that jump to the American League and learn the pro game and things like that. But definitely learned a lot there. I had Trent Yanni as my coach.
That guy, people liked him a lot.
I was pretty lucky to get drafted and have him as the coach, and he took, I was healthy scratch sometimes, and it was like a rotation. We had a lot of young players on the team, and I just kind of took it as a learning year, learned a lot. And
going back to when you transferred from out of college and go to Kelowna, sometimes part of the reason is knowing that these guys are going to sign. They want to know what it's going to be like having a similar schedule to the NHL. Was it hard going from college and the fact that you kind of save up all week for these 2 games, going into like where you're playing 3, maybe even 4 games a week?
Yeah, well, it was difficult for me because, growing up in a small town in Ontario, we went to like 11 tournaments and we were playing hockey. My life was hockey, 24/7. Even playing junior A in BC in the BCHL, we played 60 games there with playoffs in
Penticton.
In Penticton, yeah. And then when I went to college, it was you played 2 games on the weekend, you practice, and you got to go to school. And
it's so antsy to play in college.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And I just felt like once I left and went back to junior, I felt like I was like, oh, this is where
I'm at home.
I liked my time in college at Michigan State. I loved it. I had a great time. I made a lot of great memories, relationships, friendships, but I just know that when I went to Kelowna, I felt like, this is where I needed to be, and I should be. It's hockey. Everybody's here to become a hockey player. And
did you hate the coursework, the schoolwork? Was that part of it? Or
it was a big part of it. I was never.
It sucks.
I was never interested in it. I think, I could go back to school now if I wanted to and take a course, and I would find it more interesting. But I'm taking macroeconomics when I'm 18 years old. I had no idea what.
I don't know what that
could have been. They could have been speaking another language.
On top of
They were.
literally.
Math. Unless you're me. 40 plus 14 is 43.
Yeah. You're struggling the other day. I want to ask you about this. So I ended up coming in Stan Wilson, our trainer's locker room in Arizona. And somebody's got a pair, I think it was Bauer 4000 skates, getting molded. And I said, who's on our team who's wearing Bauer 4000s now? And he goes, oh no, those are Duncan Keese. And I'm like, aren't they just here like on a 2-game swing? Like, why wouldn't he do that at home? And he goes, no, apparently this guy uses a brand new pair of skates every 5 games. And I'm like, 5 fucking games? Does that have a lot to do with how you said you're explosive, where you maybe want that stiff boot? And is it in fact true you're using a new pair of skates every 5 games?
And he tapes a bunch of tape on his ankle too, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of it. But yeah, I do like a stiff pair of skates, and I haven't been able to get into the new toe caps either. I still got the cloth toe cap.
No way.
No way. The old school one.
Yeah,
why, you notice a difference?
I never
something.
Yeah, the newer plastic one, it just didn't feel like it fit my foot properly, and
looks a little more bulkier, maybe feels a little different. It's weird how that little thing can matter.
Yeah.
So were you using a new pair every 5 games?
Well, not every 5, but there's been times where if I could use a pair for one game, I could say, no, they're not good. I'm getting rid of these. Or I had a good pair last year for like 25 games. It was good. That's a good pair, 25 games.
So that was like Derek Morris. Every time I got a pair of skates, other than the time I got a new one and I put them in the oven and forgot. And Stan was like, hey, these have been in there for an hour. And they were like mush. But I took the skates that I was given, and that's all I was getting. Now, Derek Morris used to do that. He'd put on a pair of skates, he'd mold them up the way he did the last time, and he'd be like, no, there's just something not right about it. Similar to the way Sidney Crosby was with his wooden blades. Yeah. So that's, you can tell like a slight difference.
Oh, yeah. Like every skate is going to be different, but I get that. And Bauer does a really good job. You know, Jerry Trump, I got to put a plug in for him because he's the guy that's
big time rep.
You know, looking after my skates all the time. And you know, I feel bad sometimes because they look exactly the same. I'm like, no, they're not. They're different. I can't.
Sorry, bud.
He's like, no problem. He closes the door. That motherfucker.
Like, these are the same. These are the fucking same. I made them the exact same.
Yeah, but I get a practice pair, a game pair, and if I get a really, you know, pair that I've used for a while and they're mush by then, I would put them to the practices and keep the strong, stiff pair for a game.
What do you got from him, RA? You got a question?
I'm going to get dragged for this, but when I was researching, I saw you were a Boston Bruins fan. How did that come about? Is that like a generational thing? Your dad was a fan of something? Or I'm gonna
get well, my dad is a bit of a hockey fanatic, so I don't know really how it got into Boston. I like the colors back in the day. I still got that old jersey, number 8.
So that's what the origin of these
Wham Bam Cam jersey?
Yeah, wow. Number 8.
There was no one better than Cam, right?
Yeah, I liked him and Ray Bourque, obviously. And so I was kind of forward defenseman. And, my dad would always talk about the big bad Bruins, you know. And
RA's getting a hard on over here.
RA's like, tell me more.
No, it's similar. It's I get the same.
That's what was crazy about being in the finals with them, you know, because you grow up idolizing a certain team and players, and then all of a sudden you're driving through the streets of Boston here on the team bus, and people are giving us the finger as we're going through there, you know.
Not in Boston, no way.
Well, so you end up, you know, you got the 2 years in the AHL, and then once you make the team out of training camp, it was maybe 05, 06. You guys weren't like great right away, right? I mean, it wasn't like it took you were here when it was still fucking 9,000 people at the games, right?
Yeah, I remember one of the preseason games I wasn't playing, and there was like 4 or 5 of us. We sat right in the lower bowl in the stands. Nobody said anything. We're walking the concourse. I didn't know any better, so I'm just thinking like, this is great to be in the NHL, but it seems a little bit different. Like, can't even get into the bars here and getting turned down.
They're like, what?
There's my
who do you play
NHL PA card, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. Back in the line, asshole.
We had one guy go to the restaurant, and it was short notice. We showed up, and Jeff Hamilton talks to
the Red Devil,
the hostess, and he asked if we can get a table here for 6-7 guys with the Blackhawks, and they said, sorry, we don't have any affiliation with the military. We're just
God.
We're like, all right, don't worry about it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're on the hockey team. Like, then we really have no affiliation with you.
Please never come back.
But, I mean, it took a little while. Like, who do you remember as, like, some of the veterans that when you came into the league, I mean, even though the teams weren't great, you still look up to them and learn how to be a pro from?
Oh, for sure. There was lots of guys. My first year, we had such a fun team that year. I remember everybody just playing past the ace on the buses with those guys. And, of course, there wasn't any cell phones back then. I think there was one guy that had a cell phone, Curtis Brown, and he was a good veteran. Todd Simpson was my roommate.
Was Vandermeer on that team? Jimmy Vandermeer?
Yeah. I mean, well, he was, because he got traded to our team. He was there through the lockout year, the minors. So he was there. Marty Lapointe, Adrian O'Coin, Jim Dowd.
Jimmy Dowd,
great guy.
Oh, Jimmy Dowd was a beauty, I heard.
Yeah, he had the pants hiked up. But
the righty.
Yeah. So there was lots of good guys. They all kind of took everybody under their wing and made it a real fun year, even though we were out of playoffs by December.
You played with Mark Bell, and I remember, I don't know if you were on the team at the time, but he fought Josh Gratton.
I remember that fight.
In one of the Mark Bell. I
didn't know he would fight a guy
sneaky
like
tough.
Fuck yeah, if he's fighting him.
He beat the wheels off Gratton. And I remember he got him about 3 times square in the face, And afterward, they'd separated them, and Mark Bell and the referee are like laughing, like, is this guy serious? Because Josh Gratton could take a punch, and he took 3 knockout punches and was still conscious.
I think I was on the ice watching that fight right up close, thinking, "Holy crap, this guy can take a punch."
Did you know Mark Bell could throw him that well?
I did a little bit, actually, because I'd seen him fight a few other times, but I knew Gratton from the minors, and Sharpie was telling me about Gratton, how his face is basically like cement. And
yeah, like his bones are thicker.
Well, apparently one time he was punched so hard he got cut, but it didn't bleed. It was just a cut.
Yeah, like where's the blood? Like it's behind your wall of bone in your face that nobody can break.
That forehead no one can cave in.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a wild team that you had then.
I want to actually go back to the draft for a second. I don't know if it's an urban myth or true that Pulford supposedly said you were the worst pick in team history. Was that? I'm sure you've heard that by now. Is that actually something that was said?
Well, I don't know if that was said. Somebody's told me over the years there that he wasn't happy that they drafted me. You know,
they wanted me. They wanted 5th overall. They were like, "What is this guy?" That's true. That guy said that. Who was that then? The GM?
It was a Bob Pulford.
Yeah.
Holy fuck! They were going through GMs every other year.
Wow. Yeah, a few people have mentioned that to me. I guess he wasn't happy that we drafted me. It was
but you didn't hear it till later, so it wasn't something you heard early, like to kind of fuel you on a little bit or anything?
No, I never really heard that early on. It was kind of came back after the fact, after several years.
Already had that Whitney disc to keep the fires burning.
Exactly. That goofy fuck.
RA brought this point up with Sopel, 10-year anniversary of you guys winning that first cup of the 3. I didn't know it was this crazy, but you guys were getting after it that entire season. This was
no social media.
You know, as one of the main pieces to that team, just like walk us through. Like, was it like I've been hearing? It's like every weekend you guys were going out, and it was like a college fucking party every time.
It really was. It was. It was a great team, great time. I remember we would be sitting in the lounge after practice. You know, guys that filter out of there, but I remember there was like regularly after practice till like 3:00, guys would be hanging out in there just shooting the shit, talking hockey, whatever, talking about what we did the night before. And I think just everybody enjoyed being around each other so much. Everybody was around 23, 24, 25, 26, and we had just started to get good. Rocky took over the team. We were back on TV, and we had quite a few guys there with some good big personalities. We had Ben Eager, Versteeg on the team. Byfuglien.
Was that when Ben Eager was stealing the puck? Remember how Philly every team would. You win a playoff game, you keep the puck, and you're trying to chase 16.
Was it Versteeg or
no,
Eager?
It was Eager who went and took. Didn't he take the puck from Pronger or something like that? And there was all of a sudden this beef through the meet. I
think that was the Eags. I can't remember who did that, but I remember Pronger wanted the pucks.
Yeah, he did. He got all the pucks. I remember that now. So that's the thing. Like when you have married guys and older guys on a team, practice ends and you head home. Well, all of a sudden, if it's 3:00 and all the boys are still hanging in a city like this, it must have just been that started it all that one year.
Yeah, I remember there was we were always at the Pony on a Sunday night. The schedule seemed different back then. It seemed like we played Friday, Sunday afternoon, and then like didn't play till Wednesday. And I don't know. It seems now we're playing every other day. I don't know if the schedule's different now or what.
We play more games.
But the parity in the league is tougher now too, right? Every team's good, and back then it was like you have your top 6-7 teams and a group in the middle and then kind of the bottom tier.
So you would circle the days where you could play guilty. You're like, we can go out in this city and that night, and
a little bit, but it was when you're on a really good team, that you can kind of get away winning without playing your best. And I don't know. I think guys just like being around each other. It was always that Sunday.
Hang out
right away.
That's like an AHL thing too. Usually Sunday nights in the AHL is your go night. Yeah. You guys we're transferring this to the National League.
Only difference is in those small cities, there's no girls. and you hear
why are there any in Chicago? So your first cup's 2010.
Yeah.
So that fucking winter you won the gold medal.
Yeah.
And then that leads into the cup. Like that team, were you surprised you made that team, or you were already like, all right, dude, like I'm gonna be a big role on this Canadian Olympic team in Van?
Yeah, well, I knew that it was gonna be a tough team to make, obviously. But they had that orientation camp, so I knew I was kind of in the mix. But
what, in the summer?
Yeah.
So getting invited to that, you're like, all right, dude, I have a legit chance here.
Yeah, and I knew going into that season, obviously, I wanted to have a good year, a good start to the year to get myself on the radar for that team and make the team. And
had you already won a Norris then?
No.
You hadn't won a Norris before that?
No.
So what years did you win the Norris?
2010 and 2014.
So that year you won the gold medal, the cup, and then the Norris trophy.
It was a big year.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's so. And just thinking like,
it was a good year.
Yeah, it was a decent year. When you were like playing in Norfolk those 2 years, like you could tell you were going to be a good NHLer. But did you even imagine it was going to be this, that you'd end up being a Hall of Famer? Like then, I mean, you may believed it inside, but had to shock you a little how amazing this is now gone and how good you've been.
Well, I appreciate that, but I think for myself, I always believed in myself. You know, I always thought that I could be a certain player, and I always just wanted to get better. So I always just kept working and working. And
never rested on anything.
And I was a little bit of a late bloomer in a lot of ways, in the sense of physical maturity. I'm still not the biggest guy, but I feel like I'm strong now. Whereas it took me a long time to get there.
Like you got wider. You didn't get much taller, but you just got stronger and thicker.
Yeah, and I think that helped. But you know, just I don't know. For some reason, I think because I was small, you know, and back then there was. You know,
not many of you.
No, there really wasn't, and I don't know if that was motivation, but motivation to get you to be quick out there and use my speed to bring something different to the table, and
not have to be overly physical.
And that's what why I really appreciated having Trent Yanni as my coach. It was the perfect situation for me going to the minors as a smaller, skinnier defenseman, because I'd always have these coaches telling me to go in there and be physical, play tough, play mean. I'm like, I can do that, but it's like I'm not doing anything. Like the guy's, 30 pounds heavier. I'm wasting energy. And so he taught me and brought me aside after practice all the time and would show me about having a good stick and just being containing and good positioning, taking angles, going back for pucks. And that I felt like that really helped me with a foundation. So I'm very, very lucky to have a guy like that, your first year pro, and being who I am or the person I was, I really wanted to learn. He was a former NHL defenseman, and
that's an awesome story of what the AHL can do, really.
Absolutely, and a good coach. And I wanted to transition into Quenneville. Of course, you had to say goodbye to him as a head coach last year. When you came up, did you guys establish a good relationship from the beginning? Do you still have a good relationship? And going back to it, was it really hard seeing him go?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, with Q, we had such a young team, and then when he came in, it was like all of a sudden he had that huge presence in the locker room, and everybody, respected him, and so we did everything that he wanted and asked for, and our practices just changed overnight. It was quick, hard passes on the tape.
Who did he replace? Sorry, quickly. Who did he come in after?
He came in after Denny Savard.
Right?
Yeah.
What a difference it must have been.
And Sabby was good too, but I mean, Joel just has a real strong presence about him, and for a group of young guys that we were at the time, we really fed into everything he was saying, and learned a lot from him. Probably one of the best things about Joel is that he, for myself and for the teams we had, that he allowed us to play the game and not overthink it, where I think sometimes the way it is now, it seems like you gotta every little situation is already played out for you, laid out for you how to play it. When to me, hockey's you gotta be able to read and react and think quickly and be natural out there, and that's kind of what I appreciated about Joel the most.
That's why when I asked, like, your first year under Q, well, I was going to say your career year. That was your first career year under him. Was this just as simple as him unleashing the reins on you? Maybe that they had too many reins on you with Savard? Excuse me.
Well, no. I don't know. That was
the team was better.
Yeah,
right?
the team was better, I think, and I never really got not much of an opportunity. I was always an offensive defenseman in growing up and in junior hockey at Michigan State, and when I went to the minors, they never played me on the power play actually for 2 years because he wanted to kind of, I don't know, rewire my brain or get me to think, defensively, use my quickness to defend. And And so then the first few years, Jans was the coach and Savvy took over, and I still wasn't on the power play. And after a while, I'm getting kind of like, hey, like I can do more than just
come on, guys,
kill penalties and play 5-on-5. And then it kind of got into contract negotiations, and for doing the long deal that the one I'm on,
the 13-year.
And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, well, I love it here and I like it here, the guys and everything, but am I just going to be, a guy that, this is what I'm pigeonholed kind of as? And I knew that I had more. I knew I had offensive potential. I know I can see the game, and I believe in myself. And so, in the contract negotiations, I told my agent, I'm like, I'm not going to sign any deal, unless I'm getting an opportunity on the power play. Like, I haven't got one yet. It's been, what was it then, 4 or 5 years, basically. So
that's crazy, huh?
And so then the next day I was on the power play.
You're like, all right, I got a little power in this.
It was like I would be on the second unit a little bit there, but the first 2 or 3 years it was nothing.
Well, Campbell was their guy.
Campbell was good, and he was good, and we had Cam Barker. But I said, like, I've never been given a chance to, like, run a power play and be the guy.
And that amazed me because it's all communication. Sometimes certain people don't even kind of go down that path where maybe you weren't even asked. Maybe he was like, oh, maybe he didn't want to play power play. Like, I've seen a situation in the minors where, like, our coach...
Who doesn't want to play power play, though?
Well, we had a coach who assumed that one guy played this type of role in junior because he didn't know that much about him, and he ended up going up to the coach and say, hey, like, I noticed that there's some holes here with some injuries. Like, that I, like, played power play in junior and this and that. And he's like, well, I didn't know you were going to be comfortable playing at that level, but now that you came in and said something, like, and that you might be like, well, that's a bad coach, but they have so many things to think about. Maybe they didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
And it's nice that you fucking finally came up and...
Well, you're like, dude, I can dish it to Kane and Taves and Sharp and Hossa. I can get 55, 60 points. I mean, give me a shot here, bud.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is a couple teammates, and just because I had the chance to play with them for half a season and a playoff run, but Marian Hossa, like, he doesn't get brought up enough, and it kind of sucks how everything ended with the weird, like, allergic issue he had. But when you first got to play with him that season, after he lost 2 cups in a row on 2 different teams, were you just blown away right away?
Oh, right away. I knew when we signed him, we met him at the convention. We went for dinner, and, we'd played him the year before when he was in Detroit, so we knew what we were getting.
They beat you guys in the conference finals that year, didn't they?
And he scored some nice goals against us, him and Datsuk, and obviously playing him against him when he was in Atlanta and Pittsburgh. But the thing about Hossa is that, everybody... He doesn't get the hype or whatever that certain guys have gotten over the years on our team anyway, and but when you see what's happened when we've lost Hossa, he made a lot of things go, and whether it was offensively, defensively, guaranteed. You look at his stats, like, it's crazy.
Insane.
And he was still doing it right when his last year. So hard to get the puck off of him. And so strong, like even in practice, he literally can hold you off with one hand, and he's so good just handling the puck with one other hand. And
he was thick too. Like,
thick.
In the locker room, you're like, what? Dude?
We just saw him in Prague when we were there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he came over.
He looked great.
Yeah, he looked like he could still play.
So is it a case where when now if he like starts wearing the gitch again, that gets washed with all the gitch, his skin just breaks out?
Yeah,
I never knew.
I never knew it was that bad, and then we started noticing like these red patches that he'd have, and it was like it looked painful. And then he stopped practicing because it kept, and he was just playing games by the end of it. And
still,
I guess they got on some. They had to do some medication and stuff that was pretty. That's a serious stuff that you probably don't want to be on for a while. And I don't know what it was, but he just said it wasn't worth it, and.
Wow, that's wild.
Man, we could ask you about so many guys too.
We got to go back to Big Buff, I think, because we had soaps going off on him last night. Not only playing with him, but every day. Like I don't know if you played. Were you paired with him at all? I know you played. With
I used to room with that guy, so I can give you a few.
Let's go, baby. We will start part 2 of this podcast. Let's go, baby.
I don't know. I don't want to say too many.
Yeah, you always sue him, but some family friendly story maybe that
I got one. So when he first got here, I know one of the summers they kept him here just to keep his weight down.
Yeah.
is a story about them asking him to go on a diet, and then it was a GM or someone in management walked by in Wrigleyville, and he was just crushing this huge thing of like fries and nacho cheese and hamburgers.
Well, you guys know the story when he got drafted, right? You've heard that one.
Let's hear it.
Well, they called him. This is when he's 17 years old. They called him up, say, "Hey, Buff, we drafted you. We'd like you to come to our rookie camp. Yeah, it's in 3 weeks. This guy's going to be getting a hold of you. Blah blah blah." Okay, and hangs up the phone. As soon as he hangs up the phone, he unplugs all the phones in his house, and basically disappears. He doesn't want to go to the rookie thing.
He's like, wait, it's in a week?
So they had to put out like a nationwide search just to get a hold of him. They couldn't get a hold of him just because he didn't want to go for some summer camp. He wanted to enjoy his summer. He just drafted. We're sitting in there. He finally got there, and they found him and got him there. And I just remember we'd be sitting in a lounge like this, and there'd be a TV there, and of course, you know, he's sitting front and center holding the remote, you know, and everybody's just sitting around laughing with him, laughing at him a little bit, but he's, you know, Buff. Like,
he's like a comedian.
Never has a bad day.
Oh, no.
And guys were asking him, just getting to know him, you know, like, do you know, have you heard of Joe Sakic? And he's like, who's that guy, you know? Never heard of Brendan Shanahan. Never heard of him. Never knew anything. Well, I don't watch hockey, you know, like...
He's like, I'm just good at it. I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's not even a level of disrespect. He's just like, I just don't know.
Like, who are the
no,
Blackhawks?
Because he loves hockey. Don't get me wrong. Just because he doesn't
loves
watch
playing
it. He loves playing hockey.
But he doesn't necessarily care about the other shit.
Yeah, like I played against Buff when he was in Roseau. I was in Fort Francis, and we played minor hockey against him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're part of Ontario that's that close to Minnie.
Right on the border with International Falls,
Was he like William Wallace? You know, when you hear all
stuck
these,
out,
we're playing this guy, Dustin Bufflin. Apparently he's 6'2", 200 pounds and 13 years old.
Well, the thing is that the way it was is we were in Pee Wee or Adam, and in Minnesota, we were always like 2 years older than the guys we were playing against. So I'm 2 years older than Buff, and I shouldn't really be playing. I'm 12. I shouldn't be playing a 10-year-old.
Well,
right?
he's the size of a 16-year-old.
And he was still bigger.
Though.
He was still bigger than everybody, but we always did good against those teams because we were always older. But I knew Buff. He was good back then, and he had skill, the same thing.
He was just such a beast. I remember, like, his playing with him. You probably have memories of him dominating physically, like, way before I did. But watching that series, your first cup against Philly, remember he was, like, crushing Pronger? It was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, he became a household name.
You don't see Pronger getting, like, dummied in the corner, and Buff's just like
he was Brent Seabrook before, he was Brent Burns before Brent Burns. He was just going from D to offense, dominating both positions.
Did he ever play D here?
He did, yeah. He scored a hat trick as a defenseman here. Just one time in pucks from the point, 5-on-3. But he's the strongest guy I've ever played against and played with.
Natural, too.
Natural, yeah. He used to pick up our trainer, who was a smaller guy, and just randomly run into the room, pick him up, throw him on his shoulders, and then sprint out like he was carrying a 3-year-old toddler on his shoulders. You know, like just stupid stuff like that. But you're just...
Oh, I love that.
I can listen to Buff stories all day.
It's tough to transition out of Buff to other guys.
But he said he took a year off when he was 14 or 15. I asked him why. He's like, I just wanted to go hunting more.
So
just took a year off.
Hey, God bless him, though.
That's what I was gonna get it to kind of end Buff, but you could see how right now he's maybe just like, dude, I don't know if I want to play anymore. I've done it all, and he just is such on his own terms where you could totally see what's going on now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I haven't talked to him. I haven't even bothered reaching out to him because I'm sure he's had a lot of I'm sure he's got a lot of people and I mean, he's gonna make his decision, right?
Right. Yeah,
but,
you don't want to bug him.
And I know that he does love playing the game and loves hockey, but he also loves his family. He's got kids now, and you know, and he does like ice fishing and other things outside of hockey.
Selfishly, I don't want to see it end for Buff like that because I feel like he's the type of hockey character that deserves a better send-off. But once again, I just don't think he cares about that. He's made a decision, and if he comes back, he comes back. If not,
yeah,
likes fishing and hunting.
Could you blame the guy?
No.
Yeah.
No. What else do we have for you? All right, so you get the Philly Cup, then you go on and you beat RA's Bruins.
Yeah, we got to go there. Game 6, late in the game. You guys are down one. What's the thought on the Blackhawks bench? You not that it's over, but what's going through the team's mind at that point when you're down that late in the game?
Well, it's funny you guys bring that up because I actually think I feel like I caused that goal.
Was it the Lucic one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think I played it back behind the net. And what happened was about 3 or 4 minutes ago, I had lost an edge and didn't have those holders to change out your steel right away. Oh, so yeah. I was basically playing on the one, trying not to turn, and they couldn't fix it. And I didn't want to waste. There was
then you're out of the game for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then the game's over. We're going to overtime. And so I was trying to play or make do with, one edge being completely gone.
Which is near impossible,
and
especially
so
how you play.
I was making, decisions, and that time I normally wouldn't have just played it back, but I didn't pivot or whatever, and they scored, and I was like, oh, God, here we go. Like, we're
Game 7.
Now we're going Game 7, who knows?
I'm like, I started thinking, like, if we end up going back to Chicago here, like, we're going to have to win Game 7. I don't want this on my plate that I made that turnover down there. And
you're thinking that.
Yeah.
You're thinking that. That's crazy.
And I'm thinking, so we got to do everything we can to put pressure on.
So you're still on the shitty edge even after the goal.
Yeah. And they, I don't know if I said, that's it. Like, I got to get the edge done. And maybe they did take it back. I can't really remember.
Were you on the ice for either one of the tying or winning goals?
Yeah, the tying one.
You were on there.
Snuck down there, kept it in. Come on now.
So you were on the bad edge.
Do your fucking homework,
well, actually, fuck. I mean, that wasn't the cup. I forgot to mention in the intro. I'm bummed out myself. The only guy along with Henrik Zetterberg, I think, to score the cup clinching goal while also winning the Conn Smythe. So that might have been the next cup. I mean, I know there's so many you can't remember, but fuck, I did some research.
So let's hear this. So you're down a goal, now you're like, fuck, I got to get it back.
Yeah, and basically it was just kind of desperation, pressuring. And normally, we scored Bickle scored the tying goal. I had snuck down there and just kind of thinking, like, we got to keep the pressure on. They're panicking. They don't want to, make plays. They're just trying to get it out. So pinching down, and the puck squirted to me, plopped it down to Taser right over to Bickle, bang in the net.
Apple.
And then you're like, poof, now that mistake is no longer on my plate. I've rectified it. Yeah. And you just said it. It's amazing. Even a team like Boston getting all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're in Game 6. They're up a goal.
You want the game to end.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good the team. That's just like the amount of pressure winning a Stanley Cup will put on you, where your asshole is going to pucker up.
Doesn't matter.
And you're just like, let's get out of this one and on to the next one. Not like, boys, we got to continue to make plays here. There's 5 minutes left. Let's go play Bruins hockey. Yeah. But you guys
you're just waiting for that clock to tick down, and you definitely, I know Boston won a cup, so before, and so they definitely had a lot of poise. But I don't know, we might have scored that goal with that tying goal. Must have been like just over a minute.
Yeah,
it wasn't much time left.
Right around that. Now, were you surprised that they didn't take a timeout after that tying goal? Because I'm still bitter about it.
Oh, really? You thought out of the goal, take a timeout?
Claude always left his timeouts on the board. I figured, all right, like, let's settle down here, fucking, like, get our heads straight. I was expecting to be.
I don't know. I think that's kind of looking at it easy to look back in 2010. No, it's easy to look back 2020 vision or whatever they call it. Hindsight.
Yeah.
2020. Hindsight's always 2020.
That's why he left Michigan State.
Exactly.
I kill for 2020 vision.
But
that's fucking crazy. Remember that.
I don't know. What would the timeout have done, really? I mean, it's tied up, They got a minute. They're a good team.
Yeah, we can go score.
They got a really good team. They can get through that. And I sat down on the bench and couldn't believe it happened again,
Yeah, tell me about it.
And then Boland. It must have been 20 seconds. Boland did it all 17
but who's
seconds.
counting?
Now your emotion goes from, oh my God.
Yeah.
I went from thinking about going home Game 7.
I got number 2 now.
Now I got number 2.
Yeah, literally within a matter of minutes, I'm thinking, like, on the bench, I gotta have the best game of my life. I might have to have the best game of my life, Game 7 back in Chicago. I'm thinking about it, running through my head real quick. I'm like, but there's still time left. Let's just see what happens. Just pressure, and try to desperately get one.
Boland just last skate with the Hawks, right? He just did one recently where he came out. They've been doing that for. JR did one. I think Eddie Olchuk did one. I'm sure you got to spend some time with guy you won a cup with. What was that like?
Well, Boley, he just lived down the street from me when he played, so it was great seeing him. We had dinner in Florida a couple of years ago.
He just plays golf down there now.
I didn't get to see him when he was here, to be honest with you. But, I saw him on the ice there, and it's funny, because he's the type of guy you'd still love to have on your team, but obviously when you're out of the game for 2 or 3 months, whatever, it's tough to come back, let alone 2 or 3 years. And a lot of great memories with Boland, and he was all part of that group of guys on the 2010 team, where we were out on a Sunday night and getting up to no good.
Speaking of that 2010 team, did you know Kane's goal was a goal right away, or were you one of the?
I didn't actually. I was confused. I didn't want to. It's a nightmare thinking about what if this isn't? We're all celebrating here, and what if the goal's called back? So I didn't want to get my hopes up. I went right across to the referee. I think it was Walkham.
Steven?
You got a fucking memory on you, eh?
Not really, to be honest with you. I just remember that.
No, he's got 20/20 vision.
But I went over to the ref and I looked at him and I said, "Was it a goal?" And the guys are celebrating, and he just looked at me like this.
It's over, dude.
He never said anything.
No shit.
Like
Kane
knew.
He didn't know.
So he didn't know.
So Walkham
He
didn't even know
say anything. I mean, he didn't know. I don't think anybody really knew where was the puck. I didn't know.
Yeah, it wasn't underneath the padding. That doesn't happen.
But Kaner knew right away.
True.
He saw it in there, and he was obviously celebrating.
I know, because the video actually, I clearly remember he's going to the goalie, and then there's so many of you guys kind of looking like you don't even like you're saying it's a nightmare.
The crowd didn't even react.
No.
Everyone.
Yeah, because they're Philly scumbags. They're probably getting in. There's probably a fight in the lower bowl. They were all at that. Dirtbags in Philly.
Oh man.
Or we could ask you. Fuck, we could do
seriously.
5
We
hours.
could do a serial like Ken
anything
Burns
that you
with this.
thought we were going to ask you about?
There's some.
Anything I thought you guys.
I have one more.
That we haven't, anything you maybe wanted to touch on?
I have one more before you go.
Not
What was
really.
the celebration in Sochi for the second gold medal? I played there. What'd you guys do there? Rip it up.
It was just we had the
Team
whole
room.
Team Canada thing. Yeah, it was really nothing crazy. We had Team Canada. We celebrated with the girls, the female team. The female
Apparently the females had already won the gold, right? And then they
the
wrote
night
you
before.
guys a letter and put it underneath someone's door. Or it ended up going viral where they were like, hey, if we could pull it off, you guys could pull it off, rah type of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything about that?
Oh, I'm thinking of Van.
I don't specifically remember that, but I do remember though, at the Olympic Games, I'm sure it was like that with Team USA, where they try to, with Team Canada, you're all one, whether you're hockey or curling.
It was
or
actually
whatever,
awesome.
It's
doing
pretty
that.
cool, yeah. So you start cheering you get to meet different athletes on different sports, and you watch them, they win. You're happy for them, So it's a pretty cool experience that way.
Who were you paired with in that Olympics? Or was it kind of mumble jumble, like everyone played with everyone? Because you would have 7D, right?
Yeah, I was with. I thought I was with Weber. That Olympics.
That's a decent.
I've heard of him.
Was Babcock the coach that particular team? I
Yeah.
can't. Okay.
Yeah, he
How
was
was
the
it
coach.
playing for him? We've had mixed reactions about playing for Babcock with I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, I know that he gets a lot of bad rap sometimes from players, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Like I learned a lot from him, and I kind of go into it wide-eyed, like trying to learn from all the other players, and you look around the room, you can't believe
It's crazy.
Yeah.
it really is.
It is wild, those teams.
Those Team Canadas are. It's like
Who was the guy who impressed you the most just by his whole demeanor, the way he approached the game, even maybe in each of those 2 Olympics that you were in?
Well, my first one was Scott Niedermayer, and you know what, Joe Thornton was awesome too. Like
he had a limited role in that one, didn't he?
In 2010, Thornton, he's just a great guy. Like, it was my first Olympics. I'd never won anything then, and he's just loose, and so that kind of goes a long way, for a young guy. You don't really realize, especially some BC. It's where I live. I got, everybody's there, right? So.
Okay, you're from.
But I remember looking at Scott Niedermayer going into that overtime, and he either was just so like there's honestly time where I looked at him, I'm like, does this guy even care right now? Like he's won Olympic gold medals.
On?
He was going into overtime, and it was just like walking to get a drink. Like it was just like walking to get a drink
he's like
in his
reading an
living room.
old National Geographic.
He's doing the cross.
Wow,
doing the
it's
Sunday
beautiful
crossword.
in
And
Vancouver.
so I looked at him and I was thinking, like, this guy is, he's done it all, and this is just another period, another job, and he's just.
How about in Anaheim when I was with him? He'd just have he'd sweat just right here. No sweat, 30 minutes. This guy's hair isn't even wet. He just played 30 minutes. He was a freak.
Yeah.
Let's ask you about we had Mike Richards on, and this was in the Vancouver Olympics, and Doughty ended up sleeping in a little bit for that gold medal game. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. The trainers brought him his underwear and his gear outside there so he could run into the meeting real quick and look like he was there. I couldn't believe it either. I'm like, this guy's a beauty.
Yeah, this guy's a beauty, and he's dominating the Olympics.
How do you? And I'm walking to the bus thinking like, oh, I'm so nervous, and look at this guy, and he's sleeping in, my D partner. Like,
he's like, you need toothbrushes here? My breath's kicking before this big one. It's funny. It's funny because like, I remember a bunch of funny quotes from interviewing people on Chiclets, and Mike Richards saying to Doughty, you slept in through the gold medal game of the Olympics? I'll just like never forget his disgusted way he said it to him. Doughty's like, I'm good, no worries. So it's funny you remember that as well. But dude, we appreciate you coming on here so much, man. This has been great.
How long did we go?
Do it again. We got another guy here.
We got one of your new teammates on deck.
Yeah, a young guy here. Fuck.
I didn't even see he was
What
in the
these
room.
young guys now, huh?
Give me some dirt on this young guy.
Yeah.
What's this guy like in the room?
he's pretty quiet. He's living with the Seabrooks right now.
Oh, they didn't put him with Duncan. They put him with the Seabrooks. Well, hey, it's these young guys now, though. It's a different league than when we came in, right? They still show you respect, though?
He's pretty good. He's a good Western boy. So
Yeah,
he's,
I played for the Saskatoon Blades. I went and dropped the puck there a few weeks ago. Not a big deal.
oh yeah.
Me and Wendell Clark. And Wendell Clark made me drop it. I felt like the biggest loser. I'm like, buddy, they're here to see you. You're a legend. He still looks great, by the way.
Yeah, I always watched that YouTube clip of him there. What was it? I can't remember the.
Oh, it's like 10 minutes of his hits and fights.
Hits and fights. Yeah,
Best highlight tape ever.
Metallica playing. In the background.
Yes. I've watched that 100 times. I never hit anyone like that. But what about this? I talked about before a bunch of times in this podcast how players have asked legendary players. They asked the trainer, "Hey, I got a Lidstrom stick." Like, do people ask you now to sign sticks?
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
That's pretty sick, dude.
It is. Yeah, I do. Feel a little humbled when they do that. I'm like, God, what do you want my stick for?
Who's the best player to ever have asked for your stick?
Yeah, every time.
Who
wants
holy
it?
Shit.
Well, I don't know. I think Ovi asked for one of my sticks last year. It might have been for a charity or something. I don't know. I
sold it on eBay.
Yeah, he sent it back to Russia for some rubles.
He gave it to his kid to play in the driveway.
I'm sure he wasn't keeping it. It was for somebody else.
It's like somebody in Sochi wants this. Yeah, I don't need it, buddy. Who are
This
you?
will pay my mortgage for the month.
This will keep Putin happy for a couple weeks.
Well, dude, I mean, we didn't even get into the third Stanley Cup where you did win. That was your Conn Smythe, I believe. But maybe next couple of years we get you come back on. It'd be awesome for us. We appreciate it, dude. It's
Thank
awesome.
you for having me.
It's been a pleasure to watch,
Absolutely.
dude. A Hall of Fame career. So congrats to you and thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and good to see you boys
Nice
again.
to see you didn't yell at Whit today, too.
Yeah, he doesn't even remember I'm that much of a pigeon.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that interview. And once again, thank you to Budweiser Canada for all their support of Spittin Chiclets and the ECHL Player Relief Fund. We greatly appreciate it. And as I've said before, head over to the social media of the ECHL and or Spittin Chiclets to find a GoFundMe where you can donate to help out a great cause, the ECHL Player Relief Fund.